Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's bullshit, but we can't take no chances. Gfanatic 94 is not giving any of those communist cunts at YouTube the chance to fuck him over. So unfortunately, if you're under the age of 18, you gotta get out of here. Don't worry. We're gonna fight this war. But we need an army to do so.
Well, boys and girls, Godzilla fans alike, the golden age of Godzilla must come to a close. And unfortunately, today is that day. But goddamn, what a finale it was. Alright, Noah, you've been sick in bed for the last one. Are you ready, sir? Are you ready?
Aye, Captain.
Alrighty. Someone's having a good day.
It's all an act, buddy. You had to go. We had to continue on, man. We had to continue on for the video. It's all an act.
Alright. Alright, so yes, ladies and gentlemen, today we are taking a look at the end of what I consider to be the golden age of Godzilla, the Heisei Godzilla series of films. And yeah, in order to end the series, we have the infamous and arguably the best Heisei era film,
Godzilla! Destroyah!
Noah?
You like saying that very much, don't you?
Oh, I love saying you read my mind. And yeah, ladies and gents, we're covering Godzilla vs. Destroyah. And, yeah, Noah, do you have anything you want to say before we dive head first into this rather gorgeous display of lights and color and madness?
I quite do, actually. Godzilla.
Oh, God. We're gonna cover this more when it comes to the human aspect, but honestly, I don't really have any problems with the American edit for this film. In fact, I think that pretty much both the Japanese and American versions are both pretty equal in quality. So, but with that out of the way, Noah, yeah, let's go ahead and cover some of the background of this movie, and then I'll let you cover the Japanese actors and all that. So first things first, as we have repeatedly said, this is basically the end of the Heisei era Godzilla films, and as such, just like with Destroy All Monsters, Toho wanted to go out with a bang, and yeah, they decided to basically have this be the death of Godzilla. However, a common misconception about this film, it was actually not intended to be the last of the Godzilla movies ever. Initially, this film was intended to be sort of a passing of the torch, basically from Toho Studios, passing the torch of Godzilla onto American film studios. It was supposed to happen in 1994, but then it got delayed, and then, well, after this movie, it was a travesty about 3 years later, but we'll be covering that soon enough. And, yeah. But let's focus on happiness right now, Noah, because this movie is absolutely glorious. And interestingly enough, it was not initially supposed to feature Destroyah. They had a series of different kaiju lined up for Godzilla to fight in his final film, or in his final Heisei film installment. Ranging all the way from like the ghost of his father, Godzilla, like the original Godzilla, returning and possessing multiple different monsters in order to fight Godzilla, including but not limited to Anguirus and Godzilla Jr. himself. Honestly, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that to Anguirus, because I would have really not liked seeing that.
It would have made a bit more sense if it was just Godzilla Jr., though, seeing as how they are kind of the same species.
It would have. Yeah, that actually would have.
We got the concept art right here, actually.
Alright, go ahead and post it. Oh, yeah. Yep. I actually didn't even bother looking that up, bro. Thank you. Yeah.
One could say a second time always gives you the things you need to make it better.
Alrighty. And yeah, not even just that, but at some point this film was also supposed to feature a monster by the name of Boggin. And if you don't know who Boggin is, basically go play the Super Godzilla video game, and you'll know everything you need to know. But yeah, no, with the background of this film out of the way, would you like to cover the actors?
Aye, aye, sir. This feels like deja vu, but nobody knows.
No, you're scaring me.
Anyways, uh, we got Takuro Tatsumi as Dr. Kensaku Ijuin. I think that's how you say it. That's fucking weird name.
I'm not
Okay.
even gonna try, bro. I'll be honest, I'm not even gonna try.
Understandably so. Understandably so. Okay. We got Yasufumi Hayashi as Kenichi Yamane. Yoko Ishino as Yukari Yamane. And then we have Megumi Odaka as Miki Saigusa.
And unfortunately, Miki Sagusa is criminally disrespected in this film, and we will get to more of that when we cover the human aspect.
We got Sayaka Osawa as Meru Ozawa, not Aizawa. It's an O, not an I. We got Shinoda as Professor Fukazawa. Fuck! Akira Nakao as CMDR Takaki. Also, he has two A's together.
Yeah, I don't even understand how that works, but you know, I've learned to stop questioning Japanese names.
Yeah, it's for the better. Anyways, we have Momoko Koichi as Emiko Yamane. That guy would not have a good time in Mexico, seeing as how similar his name is to the Spanish word for booger. Anyways, we got Masahiro Takashima as Major Shokuroki. Takehiro Murata as Soichiro Hayami. Yakari's the editor. We got Shigeru Kamiyama as Goto. And finally, to the main stars of this program today, ladies and gentlemen, we have Pampachiro Satsuma as Godzilla.
You enjoy saying that name way too much, don't you?
Yes.
It's cool. It'll add some nice comedy to this.
We then have Hurricane Ryu as Godzilla Jr. And then we got the devil, the infamous, the creepy ass motherfucker. We got Ryu Hariya as cue the music now. Destroyah!
Did I interrupt?
No, that's right. I think we said it at the same time.
Alright. So yeah, ladies and gents, with our cast covered, we are now going to take a look at, oh, the mother of God, Noah. Just look at this thing. My God, Yuji Sakai, you absolute legend of a man. Oh, and this is the last time we're gonna see him too. That is actually
Yes,
a real
unfortunately.
tragedy. Alrighty, and now with all that out of the way, it is time to start the film itself. So let's see if Takao Okawara, the director, ended up finalizing the end of the Godzilla Heisei series efficiently, or if he fucked it up. Spoiler alert, he did not fuck it up. So, after an explosion on Boz Island, or an island I believe to be called Boz Island, Godzilla and Baby Godzilla have vanished as they just so happened to be on that island when it exploded. And this wasn't your normal explosion either, but it was completely pure uranium. And as a result...
What is that? Oh my god, it's a monster!
Well, the next time anyone sees Godzilla, he is completely tearing apart Hong Kong, and oh, yeah, he's not looking too good. He has been basically
Oh, yeah.
supercharged and turned into a walking nuclear weapon. And yeah, the more he grows in power, the more dangerous he becomes. Because now Godzilla is not only capable of exploding if he reaches too much power, but if this man explodes, guess what? He takes the whole goddamn planet with him.
If I'm going down, I'm taking this entire franchise with me.
Pretty much, dude. Yeah. Basically, the way that works is, according to the film, when Godzilla explodes, he will basically heat up the atmosphere and cause the entirety of the planet to explode in basically a blast that will be equal to or greater than that of the Big Bang, which supposedly created the universe. Spoiler alert, it did. But you know, whatever. We're not gonna discuss philosophical bullshit here.
Yeah.
And yeah, but not only is Godzilla around and basically more dangerous than he's ever been, but well, there happens to be an oil drilling company, or some sort of drilling company, that drills into the area where the original Godzilla was killed by the oxygen destroyer all the way back in 1954. And as a result, well, they release a brand new and much more deadly threat upon the world than Godzilla could ever hope to be. Not in terms of power, but you know, the details. And that monster is a small colony of micro crustacean organisms by the name of Destroyah. And basically, how it works. Yes. And basically, how these things work is they're basically like a hive mind. They grow faster and faster every day, and they become more and more dangerous as time passes and grow larger and larger until eventually they all converge into one giant and deadly foe, the kaiju, known as Destroyah. Basically, Godzilla's version of Doomsday. Yep, there he is. So, the Japanese military, being the geniuses they are, and I am saying that sarcastically because these bastards really need to just go to hell and die already, yeah, the Japanese military decides once again to use Godzilla Jr., who resurfaces on in a place that's not Japan, and yeah, they decide to use him to lure Godzilla towards Destroyah in the hopes that Destroyah will be powerful enough to stop the explosion and keep Godzilla from destroying the planet.
Will they prevail? Find out right now, actually.
Yep.
Because I got a cool looking piece of artwork that I'm about to post, because why not? It's part of the movie. Well,
Yes.
not part of the movie, but it's related to the movie.
Yes. Do indeed show, Noah. Oh. Oh, nice. Is that fan art?
I believe so. It's hard to tell.
Damn.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was, though.
Damn, dude. That look good. Oh yeah, that is fan art. Look in the bottom left. Still very damn good fan art, though. Can't complain. Anyways, Noah, would you like to discuss the humans or the monsters first?
Well, as per usual, as we see in most of our videos, let's talk about the humans, because we need to talk about the character that's highly been kind of disrespected here.
Yeah, she got neutered. Ladies and gentlemen, this film, for all its glory, is the downfall of Miki Sagusa. The girl who has been with us throughout the entirety of the Heisei series, except of course the first film. And yeah, she was there from the beginning, and she was helping she was helping the Japanese government in any way she could, either trying to help understand and counteract the kaiju attacks, or she was there trying to help directly combat the kaiju with her telepathic abilities. And in this film, and we're going to cover Junior's death in more detail when we cover the monsters, but when
Spoiler
she... What?
alert. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. But yeah, when she is confronted with the situation of the death of Godzilla Jr., um, it really just goes downhill from the beginning of the movie. She spends the entirety of the film searching for Godzilla Jr., hoping that he's still alive out there somewhere after the explosion of Boz Island. And not only is he still alive, but the explosion actually helped him prematurely have a big-ass growth spurt, only for him to...
Yeah, puberty.
Yeah. But unfortunately, it was only for him to get brutalized by Destroyah. And when we do get to see Miki interact with Junior in his final moments, it's horrible, man, because, I mean, we should get a lot more impact from this, but all we see is Miki cry for a few seconds, and then turn around and say she feels like this is going to be Godzilla's last fight, and then her friend gets more of an emotional impact than she does, even though she appeared once in Godzilla vs. Biollante and didn't show up again until this movie. I'm sorry, and I do love this movie, but they seriously neutered and absolutely destroyed Miki Sagusa. And that's disrespect that I really don't like. The rest of the human cast, however, they're treated relatively decent, except for the mad scientist. He's your stereotypical mad scientist that he's totally not evil, but he has the potential to be evil, but he's totally not. And, it's just boring as shit to see him on screen, and you know for a fact that he's gonna end up doing exactly what he vows not to do from the very beginning. He's basically predictable as hell and stupid to watch on screen. However, I can say that the rest of the human cast, well, they bring their A-game performance here and absolutely kill this movie. Not in the bad way. They absolutely outdo themselves in this film, and you can tell that they're having the time of their lives in this movie, especially the ones especially the ones being played by actors who have never been in a Godzilla movie before. You can definitely tell that they're having the time of their lives, and they are giving their A-plus effort performance here. I love it, and I absolutely adore this film for it. Now, Noah, let us talk about the kaiju. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this out of the way first. Technical kaiju. The Super X3. In the Return of Godzilla, we were introduced to the Super X. In Godzilla vs. Biollante, we were introduced to the Super X2. And ultimately, both of these things were kind of forgettable. They were interesting while it lasted, and they were fun to watch on screen, but ultimately they were just tools to be used for nothing more than basically just giving Godzilla something to do other than smash buildings. And they sounded like intriguing ideas on paper, but in execution, I feel as though they could have done a hell of a lot more with these things. However, that is not the case with the Super X3. The Super X3, once again, just like the Super X, was created to help contain nuclear fallout with freezer weapons, and once again, just like the 1984 film, it is very fucking convenient in this scenario because it just so happens that the Super X3 is capable of not only withstanding Godzilla's supercharged atomic breath, but it is also capable of freezing Godzilla and temporarily fixing the problem, but in the long run just making the problem worse. Because what they end up doing, they freeze Godzilla and they do stop the explosion. However, now Godzilla is an even greater threat because now he will just melt down, and a meltdown is far worse than an explosion of Earth. Because a meltdown, well, an explosion would already be devastating enough. But now, alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the first explanation I had for this didn't really land so well, so I'm re-recording it. Yeah, burning Godzilla when he destroys the world. Essentially, take the already massive threat of Godzilla superheating the atmosphere and making the whole planet explode, and amplify it times 10. Essentially, imagine this. Godzilla is now going to melt down instead of just explode. And when he melts down, he is going to literally melt into the Earth itself and literally force the entirety of the Earth's crust and mantle to disappear. So therefore, that literally exposes the Earth's core to the vastness of space. Now that in and of itself is not really going to do anything besides, just float out in space and do its thing and maybe dissipate. However, adding Godzilla's supercharged energy and the power he already had to that, well, combining the power of an unstable and basically dying kaiju to the heart of an entire planet. And then take away the crust and all that shit to make sure that whatever happens unimpeded and there's nothing to stop it. So essentially, Godzilla turns from a bomb that'll destroy a planet into a bomb that'll destroy an entire galaxy and probably more. So they just took the issue of Godzilla blowing up the planet and turned it into the issue of Godzilla blowing up the entirety of the galaxy. Great job, guys! Great fucking job!
Yeah.
Real splendid work, you dumbasses! But in all seriousness, though, that was an oversight, and ultimately they couldn't have actually planned for that. And yeah, the Super X3 is the one Super X out of the series that I actually enjoyed watching on screen more than just for cheap entertainment value. And it is easily the best out of the Super X's that is in the entirety of the series, so yeah.
It actually looks like a military vehicle.
Yeah, instead of a floating box with rounded tips. Anyways, Noah, which kaiju would you like to talk about first? Junior, Destroyah, or Godzilla?
Well, seeing as how we see this kaiju first, mainly, and walking around in his brand new appearance, let's talk about the little man in the movie. Even though humans are a thing, this one is the little man. Godzilla Jr. The riot that he is in this movie.
Oh my god, you're not kidding, bro. Yeah, Godzilla Jr. is amazing in this movie. Junior is awesome and pretty much in every way. He is a lot stronger and looks a hell of a lot better than he did in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Once again, not hating on Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla's little Godzilla design. I just ultimately feel as though it was out of place and could have been done a hell of a lot better. But they fixed that with Godzilla Jr. in this film. Because Godzilla Jr., he looks like a miniature version of Godzilla, which is a very good thing. And not only that, but they give him somewhat of a power boost in this film. Whereas he can literally go toe-to-toe with Destroyah's aggregate form and basically knock it on its ass and put it out of commission temporarily. Little guy went from a weakling to a strong little boy.
Very much so. And let's talk about the fact that even after he got a hole pierced through his chest, he still kept on fighting.
Yeah, he muscled straight through and he took on Destroyah full force. He definitely has his dad's mentality, fight to the death.
Very much.
And yeah, obviously this isn't, it was confirmed in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla that this is a member of Godzilla's species, but more like a subspecies, a less violent and hostile version of Godzilla, while it's at the same time being more of a, kaiju that actually needs, like, actual sustenance instead of just radiation to support itself. And I like how they displayed that in the differences between Junior and Godzilla. For one, Godzilla, and obviously we're talking about the way he was before this movie, because in this movie he's supercharged and looks very different. But comparing him to the way Godzilla's supposed to normally look, yeah, Godzilla is darker in color and less hunched over. And Junior is, he actually has green skin, and I don't know, Noah, do you think his atomic breath is stronger or weaker than his dad's? Or his adopted dad's?
Well, just by age assumption, you would probably think it would be a bit weaker, seeing as how Junior is still a young lad.
Yeah.
But in time, it would probably grow stronger.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me any. This little man is a beast. And
so never underestimate the Junior, because he's got a lot of traits from his father that you would not assume he would have, just from his other appearances.
Yeah. Yeah, let's not discuss that.
Godzilla Junior is out of place in the not Junior, fucking little Godzilla is out of place in the Heisei era.
And anyways, Noah, we'll cover that one sad scene here in just a second. But first, we need to discuss the one major kaiju, the other major kaiju that is here, that instigates the whole scene. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Godzilla's version of Doomsday from the Superman comic books. Destroyah!
Yeah, the music!
My God, what the hell were they thinking when they brought this thing to screen? And I'm not even saying that because it's bad. No, I'm saying that because, good God, this thing is a masterpiece of not only like fearsome and intimidating looks, but storytelling. First of all, this thing was created from the very weapon that killed the original Godzilla, bringing the full story completely full circle. And second of all, God damn, dude, what is this thing? Okay, yeah. There you go. God damn, dude. He has multiple different forms throughout this film. His first forms are basically a cross between xenomorphs, crabs, and it's really hard to explain these things, but they just look so damn cool and creepy and intimidating at the same time. And they are big, but they're also small enough to present like a horror movie sort of setting when a bunch of police SWAT units invade a warehouse where these things are establishing themselves. And yeah, these things start slaughtering them one by one until they eventually learn that the weakness of the Destroyahs and Destroyah is fire, somewhat.
Well, it's high and very, very high and very, very low temperatures.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, then there's his flying form, which is basically his final form, just minus the legs, and it looks like it takes a lot of inspiration from Rodan. Honestly, I think his flying form is sort of the weakest, appearance-wise, out of all his forms. But then there's his aggregate form. Good God on a holy cross. What the hell, man? This thing is... I don't know how to describe it. It looks like his tiny form, except it's, well, one, supersized, and it has, like, giant spikes over its, like, on its shoulders and reaching over its head, that can stab into pretty much anything at once. And not only that, but this thing just looks intimidating as hell, especially with how big it is. Me personally, I think that, yep, there it is. Me personally, I think for his final form, they should have combined, Destroyah's aggregate form and his flying form, but, you know, that's just me. But speaking of Destroyah's final form, Mother of God. I'm looking at Satan. Um, there's literally no other way to describe it, Noah. What do you think?
Double make crab.
Yeah, man. I mean, just wow, dude. Just whoever designed the forms for Destroyah, they really outdid themselves. And honestly, I wish they would have come back for future projects in Godzilla. And maybe they did. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, dude, the forms for Destroyah and the powers for Destroyah are absolutely breathtaking to look at and menacing beyond belief. Destroyah, yeah, his powers are basically the abilities to, well, one, fly. There's a reason he has those gigantic ass wings.
More into that later on.
Yeah. What are you posting? Yeah, there you go. And, yeah. Then he also has his oxygen destroyer laser that he shoots out of his mouth, which is a purple laser that, one, is very, painful and, like, in and of itself has the ability to knock Godzilla on his ass. But it also has the capability of literally attacking and damaging oxygen molecules for any and all forms of life that it hits. And thank you for actually giving me that knowledge, Noah, because I did not know that before going into this movie.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. And then there's Destroyah's horn. And you thought that thing looks devastating to begin with. Yeah, it gets worse. He can literally turn this thing into a lightsaber. And what I mean by that is he ignites it with some sort of energy of like some sort of energy to amplify its power. That is, and this thing is literally capable of cutting clean through Godzilla's flesh like butter. If Godzilla didn't have a healing factor in this film and in the Heisei series, Godzilla would have been dead the second he faced this thing. Yeah, I mean, just wow, dude. More on Godzilla in a minute. But then there's arguably Destroyah's most terrifying and efficient power he has. His ability, since he is a colony of microorganisms, Destroyah has the ability to separate his body into multiple different tiny forms that can each surround and attack every one of his opponents from multiple different angles and completely surround them in basically an ocean of tiny Destroyahs. Yep, right there. And yeah, dude, and each of those little forms has Destroyah's abilities, just on a much smaller scale. So, yeah, needless to say, Destroyah is not something you screw around with. He is an intimidating and he is a damn powerful foe. Basically, imagine Lord Beerus from Dragon Ball Super and soup him up on steroids. Then replace his addiction to food with an addiction to murder.
Yeah, he's very much deadly, no matter what form you put him in.
Yeah, no kidding. And we're also gonna go ahead and give him a little mention here. His chest laser. It's not used in the movie, and in fact, this attack of his didn't even exist when this film rolled around. I don't think. But there's a comic book where Destroyah can actually open up that flap on his chest, which looks like an ass crack, by the way. And yeah, a really deformed ass crack, and he can fire a powerful green laser out of that shit, which is capable, I'm assuming, of killing most kaiju in one shot, but not Godzilla because, it's Godzilla. Anyways.
But overall, very, very powerful.
Yeah, no kidding. And yeah, bro, what are your thoughts on Destroyah?
Overall, the thing that they made in that movie is easily, hands down, one of Godzilla's strongest foes, and most deadly, just because of his overall arsenal and abilities to just destroy the oxygen molecules in any kaiju or living life form that requires oxygen to live.
Yeah.
And as you said before, his most versatile ability to split and just surround his enemies, it's an overall deadly force which you will have a very hard time countering unless you're currently having a fucking heartburn.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But first, Noah, we have to cover what is easily the saddest scene in the movie. You remember how we talked about, and I'm not asking you this, Noah, obviously you remember. But ladies and gentlemen, if you'll recall, we mentioned how Godzilla Jr. got into a fight with Destroyah's aggregate form and actually won that fight. It was a hard fought battle, and Junior did get hurt during the fight, but ultimately Junior did prevail. And Destroyah, well, he was none too pleased with his now injured pride. And now, just when Godzilla and Junior reunite as a family, Destroyah cannot allow this happiness to, well, exist at all. He attacks Godzilla Jr., grabs him, and flies off with the little man. And then he proceeds to drop Godzilla Jr. on top of a building and blast him just to finish him off. Godzilla Jr., yeah, poor little fella. Yeah, Godzilla Jr. did not deserve that. And yeah, the funeral scene with Godzilla. Godzilla, now devastated after seeing what just happened to his son, after seeing what just happened to his adopted son, he walks over to Junior and he tries desperately to save Junior's life. He tries to literally breathe life back into Junior. using his radiation to try and bring him back, but it's too late, and Junior, he passes on. For a short time period, anyway. And just watching Godzilla's reaction to this, it was heartbreaking. And yeah, this was the second time ever watching a Godzilla movie that I genuinely cried. And yeah, dude. Then, just, again, just watching Godzilla's reaction here. When he is overwhelmed with anger and hate, he tries to contain his atomic energy, and he fights to keep it from exploding. And you can see it as he's doing it. He's basically crying now. But then, Godzilla doesn't even have a chance to mourn, as Destroyah attacks. And now the final battle begins, where we now see the full wrath of burning Godzilla. Noah, do you have anything to say about burning Godzilla?
An unstoppable force of absolute power that once triggered, you best make cry for God, cause he won't fucking give a shit as he burns you alive.
Yeah, no, he definitely will not if you piss him off. Yeah, no. Burning Godzilla. First of all, let's talk about the suit. The suit is basically the same suit from the last film. And ultimately, I do wish that they changed that, but yeah, it was fine in the end. And yeah, basically, it's the same suit from Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla with a minor facial upgrade and added in LED lights and parts of the suit to highlight his burning sort of effect. There we go. Take a gander, ladies and gentlemen, at the most powerful form the King of the Monsters possesses. This form is affectionately known as Burning Godzilla. Even though it was initially called Critical Mass, but, you know, whatever. So, yeah.
It's easier to say.
Yeah. And yeah, in Godzilla's burning form, basically he is, dying, essentially, and his body is heating up at a rate faster than his body can naturally cool. And as a result, yeah, like we already talked about with the explosion and the meltdown and shit. And yeah, burning Godzilla is easily one of the coolest parts of this film, because not only is Godzilla his normal self, just, you know, having problems with his burning body and the fact that he's dying and he doesn't really understand what's going on, but then after he is forced to meet the reality that his adopted son just got killed, Destroyah unleashes a force on the Earth that has never been seen since time began. He infuriates Godzilla, and as a result, Godzilla. He essentially becomes, well, how else do you describe it other than pure chaos and rage? This is essentially Godzilla's Super Saiyan form, just with a lot more kickback.
Very much so.
Yeah. I don't know if this form actually is supercharges Godzilla's healing factor. It certainly appears to do so, as we see in the movie, but it also, one thing that is for certain, it supercharges every single one of his powers, including his nuclear pulse, his atomic breath, And it also gives, he already had super strength, but it gives him even more efficient super strength, as he can now lift and carry things that we don't even know the limit to what he can lift, honestly. And yeah, dude, all that continues to only get more powerful when he starts to melt down. And the final battle begins as Godzilla and Destroyah go head to head in the battle that will decide the fate of Japan and the world. And then the military has to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why couldn't they have just let Godzilla have his moment? What? Why? Okay, so basically the ending of this movie, everything that we just set up goes down, and then because the director of the film or the writers didn't want the Japanese military to feel completely and utterly useless, they basically make it to where Godzilla doesn't even get the final kill on Destroyah. The military shoots him out of the sky, and he falls on the ground and dies.
Damn, this is
How?
maybe the end of a kaiju era, seeing as how humans actually killed someone.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, and ultimately that is the most depressing part. But then that also brings us to the second saddest scene in the entirety of the Godzilla franchise. It's a bittersweet ending. As Godzilla's melting down, and, well, the process begins that Godzilla will actually destroy the Earth if this process finishes, and the entirety of the galaxy. Yeah, they immediately start to freeze Godzilla to keep the damage from reaching out, and they do successfully freeze Godzilla and stop the end of the world. And Godzilla dies slowly, and unfortunately, we do hear his cries of both anger and what can only be described as fear. However, not all hope is lost, because essentially, once Godzilla melts down, the radiation from his body infects all of Tokyo, and it basically turns Tokyo into basically a graveyard, and it's completely uninhabitable simply due to how much radiation is there. But then, all of a sudden, that radiation starts to just fade away, and nobody knows where that radiation is going, except the audience, who is treated to a single shot of Godzilla Jr. Now Godzilla Jr. has been revived, and not only has he become much larger and much more powerful, but even though his father never got to be a true hero of Earth, Godzilla Jr. is the single greatest hope for humanity for the rest of the Heisei continuity.
That
And
we never
thus,
got to see.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I don't know if there were ever any actual films planned for the future of this, but for the future of the Heisei series, but if there were, I would have loved to see those, because we never really got to see Godzilla be a hero in the Heisei series. We got to see him slowly start to transition, but we never actually got to see him be a pure, hero of Earth. However, with Godzilla Jr. now in the picture, all that changes because of, well, the way he was raised and the way his father essentially started to change himself. And that ends the Heisei continuity of Godzilla. And unfortunately, what comes next can only be described as an assassination attempt. All that being said, though, Noah, who would you recommend this film to audience-wise?
Well, seeing as how this film is very much action-packed and has pretty good actors, and they did do their best, and, well, an actual good plot you can easily follow. I would honestly recommend this to age-wise down to older children. Because if any younger children watch this, they might find Destroyah a bit too horrifying.
Yeah, I can actually personally attest to that. I didn't watch this movie at a very young age, and as a result, oh well, I did watch it at a young age, but also during my youth, I was watching movies like Alien vs. Predator and shit like that. But seeing my younger cousins and shit like that at the time watching this movie, I can personally guarantee you that a good chunk of small children will be intimidated and scared by Destroya. So, yeah, if you got little kids and they're not already accustomed to horror movies and shit like that, do not show this movie to little kids because they are going to have nightmares.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. And, yeah, bro. Audience-wise, from my perspective, honestly, bro, if you are a Godzilla fan, this is the one movie that I am ever gonna say this about. You owe it to yourself to pick this movie up and watch it. If you're a Godzilla fan and you have not seen Godzilla vs. Destroyer yet, go fix that immediately. You must give this movie a watch. It is absolutely amazing and it is a joy to behold. Even with all its downsides and all of its flaws. And not only just Godzilla fans, bro, sci-fi fans. Oh my god, they are going to love Destroya as not only a concept, but in execution. And more importantly than that, you know what, I'm actually going to go ahead and say it, to a somewhat lesser degree than prior films, but still, I believe that action movie fans would enjoy this film because there is a lot of action and shit in it. Mainly when Destroy is in a small form, but that is more what I'm about to say next. I would recommend that fans of horror movies watch this movie because they're going to enjoy the hell out of Destroya, just like sci-fi fans. Destroya is... Am I out of line calling him a slasher villain?
Well, you wouldn't be blamed for doing that.
I don't imagine so. But yeah, bro. With the Heisei era of Godzilla covered, um, you know, it's bittersweet because one, we just finished the golden age of Godzilla, and two, because I know what comes next. But anyways,
But before we go, can we talk about another aspect of Destroya real quickly?
what?
Well, this says it all right here. I'm
Oh no.
about to send.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, destroy it. Yeah, Destroyer has super strength and is literally able to pick up Godzilla and drag him. Oh, just the music with that is flawless, bro. Okay. Alright. Yep. So yeah, ladies and gents, we'll see you tomorrow when we go ahead and do our recap of the Heisei Godzilla era. And, yeah, Noah, are you excited for the future, even though we do have some bumpy areas to go through?
Uh, honestly, I am. I honestly am. I just hope we can get past the stinky part.
Yeah. Honestly, bro, at this point, we only have 2 more Godzilla films that can genuinely be considered shit. So we'll just muscle through, and we'll just keep going. At any rate, though, we will see you guys tomorrow with the recap of the Heisei era. Later, everybody.